There's a psychological reality that you and I, as we look out at the world, we are always seeing our nose, and yet in reality we don't, right? You are never not seeing your nose, but most of us actually, if you stop and think about it, you don't see it, right? Let's all have a look for a second. Give yourself a headache. But it's there, right? And this is actually true. There are a lot of things like it. In fact, scientists would tell you, what other things are we not noticing? They would tell you almost everything. Because what your brain does with your nose, because your brain is smart, is your brain is always looking for efficiency. The brain, which is about 2% of your body mass, uses 20% of the energy that your body needs. And so the brain is constantly looking for ways to be more efficient. And so as it takes in that piece of information, your nose, over a very short space of time, it begins to realize that thing is not changing. Therefore, I'm going to put it away. This person does not need to think about that at all, and I will put it away. And if you've ever, been punched in the nose or swallowing or something, you become more aware of it. You ever chip a tooth? Can you keep your tongue off of it? No. Because to your body, it's different. And your tongue's like, what is that? This is different. And you want to stop it. Stop it. It's impossible, isn't it? There are a lot of things that our mind does that for from an efficiency standpoint. But here's the problem, of course. Something that's so true about us and is actually just a brilliant thing about us and really serves us well in most situations. Because again, if we just took in all the stimulus, our head would explode. It just couldn't be done. So the brain is making this decision. So then what do you see? Well, now you're right on top of the psalm and you're right on top of Christmas. Lord, let us see your face and we'll be saved. Let us see your face. But if we're not acknowledging that our mind's kind of working against that on a lot of levels, because for many of us, things are as they are. And so out of efficiency, we stop looking. So once you go, yeah, I know what Christmas is. Yeah, we're remembering, Jesus born incarnation. Yeah. And hoping for a second coming. Okay, got it. But you know what? It's really busy and shopping and decorating and all the stuff that goes around it. There's an efficiency to it. But the thing is, out of these readings, out of this experience, and where we find ourselves right now, just taking the temperature of where we find ourselves as a parish community, as a country, as a human race, how are we going to see his face? If our efficiency is working against it, then we have to be able to stop. The very word respect, right, comes from two Latin words, re spessere, to look at it again. You want to respect Christmas? Then look at it again. And take the time, as we have to with our nose, to almost go cross-eyed. To say, what is it? Who is it? Where are we going to see the Christ? And one of the things that came right out of that first reading was, you, Bethlehem Ephrathah, too small to be considered among the clan of Judah. You're too small. You combine that with this great visitation story of Mary and Elizabeth, two insignificant people. These are not people of power. These are not people of notice. An event like we just heard and venerate meant nothing to anyone. Maybe the next door neighbors were irritated when they heard the shrieking when Mary showed up. That's about it. A virgin birth. This whole story is too small, too poor, too unpowerful, too insignificant. And in our efficiency, we can miss it. We'll miss the opportunity because we'll just roll right over it. And we'll bring along with us our cares and concerns, our hurts, our worries, and miss that what we're being asked to do is set aside the efficiency of our head and look with the eyes of our heart and re-experience the glory of what it is that God did for us and is going to do for us. As we say, Christ, yesterday, today, and forever. And so in just a few days, we'll celebrate Christmas. It'll bring families together. It'll be an opportunity to look at it again, to respect the gift of the incarnation. But in the final analysis, I hope it always brings us to look at the small, the too small, at the powerless, at the insignificant, the poor, and then see what it's asking of us. Been a lot of devastation in the last week or so here in our own country with a tornado that's unprecedented in its just path of destruction. In my beloved Philippines, they just had the strongest hurricane on record this year. Just blew a path of destruction. One of my dear friends who supports my work there had texted me just last night to say, and it's funny because in my efficiency, I didn't read the text well. It was kind of a back and forth. But what she said towards the end was, are there people that you know who have lost hope and or shelter? And in the efficiency of my head, I only saw shelter, right? Because I want to fix their problem. That's what we do. We want to fix it when it's wrong. And so I explained, I'm happy to hear that nobody that I know that through that whole swath lost a loved one. There were some deaths, but not as many as you might expect for a storm of that size, certainly relative to our own big disaster here in our country. And so I was explaining, there's a lot of property damage and a lot of loss and all that. And for whatever reason, I looked back at the text again and realized what she asked first and what I missed was far, far more important. Did I know anyone who had lost hope? And I had to say in a very self-convicting way, I do not. I do not. Of all the people I talked to in the Philippines who had been greatly impacted by this storm, not one had lost hope. They see it. Their mind is not as efficient as mine. In the midst, right on the cusp of Christmas, to have that level of destruction, that each and every one that I spoke with had hope. At the orphanage, my friends across several islands that were struck. Hope. And so as we return to that psalm and sing it in our hearts this week, Lord, let us see your face, and we shall be saved. But then let us respect it. Let us look at it again. Let us acknowledge that our brain can be very efficient. That's a good thing. But right now it needs to be inefficient, or we won't see it. We'll miss it. We'll miss the Christ child, the simplicity, the powerless, the too small, the vulnerable, the poor, born in a barn. And we'll miss the hope of the second coming, which is not optimism. It's a steel within our soul that says, all will be well. In the midst of so much tumult and a world that can feel turned upside down, that's the truth. That's our hope. And brothers and sisters, it's as plain as the nose on your face. May God be praised. That just came to me at the last minute. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Please stand.